My mother-in-law, Barbara, was staring intently at the allergy test results. The moment she confirmed our child's blood type, she started screaming. "You're the worst. This isn't our son's child. We are all type O." She crumpled the test result paper and threw it to the floor in a frenzy. "I knew something was off since you announced your pregnancy. You cheated, didn't you? Divorce my son immediately." I quietly picked up the crumpled test result paper from the floor. And then, I instantly realized something. "You're right, Barbara. This is not your son's child. My name is Emily, 34 years old. I live in a rental apartment in New York with my husband, James, whom I married from work. Despite being busy with work, James is a kind man who actively helps with household chores. Today, when I came home, he had washed the frying pan and dishes used for breakfast. Hey! Don't overdo it with helping your juniors. If you keep working overtime like this, you'll exhaust yourself. I know that, but I can't help myself. I just end up helping." As I changed into my loungewear in the bedroom, a delicious smell wafted in from the kitchen. Today's dinner was my favorite, James' original fried rice. I grabbed a can of beer from the fridge and glanced at the calendar on the wall, noticing a big circle on the 10th. Oh, I had completely forgotten, but next Friday is our 7th wedding anniversary. How about we go out to eat next Friday? I feel like having French cuisine. I thought you might say that, so I've already made a reservation at a French place in Brooklyn. Really? Thank you. I'm really looking forward to it. As I stuffed my mouth with fried rice, I couldn't help but think about how 7 years had already passed since we got married. We don't have children. I thought having kids would be natural once we got married. But even after a year, 2 years, I wasn't getting pregnant. My younger sister, who got married 4 years after me, is now a mother of 2, and my friends were getting pregnant one after another. In the first few years, I didn't feel rushed and could genuinely be happy for the pregnancy announcements of those close to me. However, now I overreact even to the pregnancy announcements of celebrities who have nothing to do with me. I was getting disgusted with myself for not being able to genuinely celebrate others' happy news. Why can't we have a baby? My search history on my phone was filled with pregnancy-related keywords. Whenever I had free time, all I could think about was babies. Adding to this stress was my mother-in-law, Barbara. The word taboo doesn't exist in her dictionary. Recently, she suddenly showed up at our apartment, making snide remarks about our inability to have children and urging me to divorce. "Emily, when are you going to get pregnant? I'm tired of waiting. This is something we have no control over. I'm doing everything I can. Don't you feel sorry for James, not being able to become a father? I also want to see James as a father as soon as possible. If you think that, then divorce him. I believe there's someone more suitable for James. If he marries a healthy woman who can conceive, he could become a father right away." Even after hearing such harsh words with a straight face, I've managed to get by thanks to James and his father. They are always on my side. If anything, they seem fed up with mother-in-law, who is obsessed with having grandchildren. I've been keeping my distance by not contacting her myself, avoiding places she frequents, and doing the minimum for Mother's Day and her birthday. As usual, after dinner, James and I were watching TV together. That day, I felt a bit feverish and not in the best shape, so I decided to check my temperature, and I had a slight fever. It was 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit. I tend to feel unwell before my period. Checking my phone app to predict my period, I realized it was later than usual. In a hurry, I used a pregnancy test kit stored in the bathroom, and it clearly showed positive with 2 lines. "James, look at this." "What? Does this mean you're pregnant?" "Yes. I'm pregnant. We finally have a baby coming." I was so overwhelmed with joy that I collapsed in tears on the spot. How much time and money had we spent to reach this moment? James double-checked the pregnancy test results several times before hugging me tightly. "Thank you for giving up alcohol, smoking, and saunas. You can indulge in them again now." "No, compared to your efforts, my sacrifices were nothing. I'll wait until you safely give birth before I drink again. I'm already looking forward to our celebration drink." A few days later, a visit to the obstetrician confirmed the pregnancy. There was a baby inside me. It was a strange and warm feeling that I experienced for the first time. I didn't care about the gender. I just hoped for a safe birth. Once the baby's heartbeat was confirmed, I got a mother-child health handbook from City Hall and started searching for a hospital for the delivery. The severe nausea felt like hell, but thinking of it as a sign that the baby was healthy helped me endure it. I still vividly remember the moment I first felt the baby move. James would talk to the baby every day, placing his hand on my belly. "It's Daddy. Come out soon. Hey, that's not good. It's too early for that. Oh, right. Stay inside a bit longer." At 8 months pregnant, I took maternity leave and enjoyed a relaxing maternity life. One day, while watching a movie at home with James, I felt a sudden burst and my pants got wet quickly. I immediately knew my water had broken. James panicked. There's a saying that mothers are strong, and it's true. I was incredibly calm. When we called the hospital where I was supposed to deliver, they told us to come immediately, so we took a taxi there. I was about to meet our baby. I felt more excitement than nervousness. Upon arriving at the hospital, labor began. However, the process turned into a long battle. Hours passed, and the baby still hadn't descended, leaving me physically and mentally exhausted, screaming loudly throughout the hospital. "I can't do it anymore. It hurts. It hurts." With the baby's heartbeat dropping, the doctor decided on an emergency C-section. Everything happened quickly from there. The preparations for the surgery were rushed, and I received spinal anesthesia. 15 minutes later, I met our baby. "You did great, Emily." James stroked my head, crying. "Isn't she cute? She's our baby." The newborn baby was so small and precious that I felt like she might break at the slightest touch. It was hard to believe she had been inside my belly just moments ago. Tears streamed down my cheeks. As I held our soft, tiny baby's hand, I felt certain I could do anything for her. Although she was underweight due to early water breaking, she grew steadily after that. Time flew by, and she was soon about to start kindergarten. "Hey, how about we go to the shopping center next Saturday? We need to buy some things for kindergarten." "Like what?" "You know, like a bag, a water bottle, a lunchbox." "Don't they provide lunch at kindergarten?" "It depends on the place." "Oh, and before she starts, we should get an allergy test done." "But she'll be bringing her own lunch, right?" "Yes, but they provide snacks at kindergarten." "Both of us have food allergies, so I want to make sure she hasn't inherited any." "You're right, we should be concerned. Let's take her to the hospital for the test soon." The following week, we took our child to the hospital for the allergy test. On the questionnaire, there was an option to check the blood type as well. Since it was free, I decided to check it off. The test results would be mailed to us later. What a convenient world we live in. A few days later, after returning home from shopping, I found an envelope with the hospital's logo in our mailbox. The allergy test results had arrived. After washing my hands, I immediately opened the envelope to check the results and found that, as expected, our child had a few food allergies. I felt a slight pang of guilt towards our child. But it'll be okay. Both James and I are knowledgeable about food allergies. Nowadays, there are plenty of alternative foods and options for people with food allergies. Plus, some children outgrow their allergies as they grow. To make sure James saw the results later, I pinned the test result paper to the fridge with a magnet. All right, time to start making dinner. As I was putting away the groceries I bought at the supermarket, the intercom rang. I looked at the video screen and saw my in-laws standing at the door. Annoyed by their unannounced visit, I opened the front door. "Hello, it's been a while. Emily, sorry for the sudden visit. I told Barbara to inform you in advance, but I don't need to inform anyone to visit my son's house. Now, let me see my grandchild." Mother-in-law barged in and spread out the children's clothes and toys she brought in the living room. All of them were expensive items. Mother-in-law is a brand enthusiast, the complete opposite of me, who has no interest in high-end brands. I started boiling water to make coffee for my in-laws. "Emily, what are you doing?" "Oh, I'm making some coffee." Please wait a moment. I don't want to drink that cheap coffee. Don't you have anything else? Mother-in-law said this as she walked briskly to the fridge. Then she stopped in front of the fridge. She stared intently at the allergy test result paper pinned there. What's this? Oh, I thought we should test for food allergies before she starts kindergarten. No, not that. I'm talking about the blood type. What? I moved my gaze to the blood type section next to our child's name. It said type A. Mother-in-law, her face turning red with anger, started yelling at me. Emily, you're the worst. Please calm down, Barbara. Calm down? This isn't our son's child. We're all type O. Mother-in-law crumpled the test result paper and threw it to the floor in a fit. I knew something was off since you announced your pregnancy. Emily, you cheated, didn't you? Divorce James immediately. And I'll be demanding alimony. I quietly picked up the crumpled test result paper from the floor. And then, I instantly realized something. No, Barbara, you're wrong. James is not your son. I continued, facing mother-in-law, who was standing there dumbfounded in front of the fridge. James is type A. Then mother-in-law began yelling that it was impossible, insisting mother-in-law and father-in-law were both type O, and accusing me of lying. When James was born, people in the hospital said he was also type O. Mother-in-law didn't know that the blood type at birth isn't always reliable and can change as a child grows. Here's the proof. I seized the opportunity to show mother-in-law a certain document. It was the blood test result James had from when he was undergoing fertility treatment. The blood type listed there was unmistakably type A. Seeing this, mother-in-law's face turned pale, and she sat down silently on a chair. She began to sweat profusely, clearly distressed. Father-in-law, who had been silently observing, finally spoke. What's going on, Barbara? There's a reason for this. A reason? Are you going to make excuses? Don't be ridiculous. I had never seen father-in-law this furious before. I quickly told my child to go play in his room, not wanting him to hear such a heated conversation. After a few minutes of silence, mother-in-law, seemingly resigned, began to speak through tears. Her story took us back 30 years. Shortly after she and father-in-law got married, he frequently went on long business trips overseas. As he worked for a trading company, he couldn't refuse these trips regardless of the circumstances. Mother-in-law, having moved away from her hometown for the marriage, had no friends nearby and succumbed to loneliness, leading her to an affair. To make matters worse, her affair was with one of father-in-law's cherished juniors. James was the child of mother-in-law and her affair partner. After hearing her story, father-in-law left without a word. Mother-in-law too, eventually stood up and left, wiping away her tears. How would James feel about this truth? I was worried only about James. Surprisingly, James didn't seem shocked. Though he had never said it out loud, he had always suspected something, given that he didn't resemble his parents. Since the day this shocking truth was revealed, I have had no contact with mother-in-law. She sent an email once, but I deleted it without reading it. James suggested cutting ties with her, which I agreed to. After that, father-in-law, furious at being deceived for over 30 years, handed mother-in-law divorce papers. It was the natural outcome. Mother-in-law, having committed adultery, had no right to refuse, and the divorce was finalized without issue. Dependent on father-in-law and having lived a comfortable life as a housewife without working, mother-in-law now struggled to make a living. She was likely searching for a job. I wondered if there was any place that would hire her. But it was none of my concern. Considering what mother-in-law did to father-in-law and the many harsh words she had hurled at me, I felt no sympathy. Meanwhile, James and father-in-law maintained a good relationship. Father-in-law fully blamed mother-in-law and absolved James of any guilt. Having raised James for 30 years, father-in-law considered him his real son despite the lack of a blood connection. Even after the divorce, father-in-law continued to be kind to both James and me, as well as our child. He took us out to eat once a month and recently brought us souvenirs from a trip. I had been worried about father-in-law living alone for the first time, but he seemed to be enjoying it. Determined to cook his meals, he started attending cooking classes, and his skills improved rapidly. He often sent us pictures of the dishes he made for the first time. He even started a cooking blog. Now, he's quite skilled, even better than me. Our child has grown very attached to him and has become quite the grandpa's kid. My mother has been doting on my child even more, to ensure they don't feel the absence of a paternal grandmother. Without the constant harassment from my mother-in-law, I can now enjoy a fulfilling life every day. I used to wake up every morning in bed wondering what unpleasant events the day would bring. But now, I wake up excited to see what wonderful things might happen today. My world has started to brighten up. Another new day begins today. I wake up my husband and child, make breakfast and lunch, dress him up, there's so much to do. But every moment spent for my family is truly precious. I can say with certainty. Surrounded by my loving family, I am very happy.